He doesn't need a point-by-point rebuttal. You know what his greatest rebuttal will be? His greatest rebuttal will be he's in office, he's going to remain in office, and he'll get reelected. Because the Democrats have nothing. They banked everything on this. You have 15, 18 people running for president and not a single message that doesn't involve Trump, 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 Trump.
And that was White House Counselor Kellyanne Conway speaking earlier this morning. 2020 Democrats were quick to weigh in on the Mueller report today. Several contenders focused attacks on the Attorney General Thursday. Many found fault with how William Barr held a news conference before the findings were made public. This included Senator Elizabeth Warren, who tweeted, as you see there, it was a, quote, disgrace. Senator Kamala Harris echoed similar sentiments in a statement. She said Barr, quote, acted more like the president's defense attorney than our nation's attorney general. And here's Senator Amy Klobuchar's take when she was campaigning in Iowa earlier.
Why would we simply, as a country, be able to ask questions of an attorney general that just got into office, who had nothing to do with this investigation? I want to be able to ask Mr. Mueller, who is a former Republican-appointed FBI director, about what happened with this investigation.
Now, President Trump's 2020 campaign press secretary was on Red and Blue earlier this week. Kayleigh McEnany said there's little doubt the Mueller report will be a topic on the trail.
We expect to bring this up along the road to 2020, no doubt about it. You know, President Trump for 2 years has said Democrats are lying. I've been fully and completely exonerated. I've done nothing wrong. Now he will take that message to the American people. Fair to say it will come up along the path to 2020, especially because it poses such a credibility crisis for Democrats.
Joining me now from Austin, Texas is Caitlin Huey-Burns. She's a CBSN political reporter. We also have CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist Michael Graham, who is in Boston, and Democratic strategist Lynda Tran is here in our Washington bureau, one floor away from where I am. She is a CBSN political contributor and a founding partner at 270 Strategies. Great to see all of you, your familiar faces to folks who watch this program regularly. So, Caitlin, let's start with you. In your view, do the contents now of this 400-page report change anything for 2020 Democrats?
For 2020 Democrats, there's nothing significantly that is going to change in terms of their approach to campaigning. I think you're hearing from a lot of the senators that you mentioned there focusing on Barr and wanting Mueller to come testify in front of the Judiciary Committee. That would be very interesting to watch because several 2020 candidates, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Cory Booker, sit on that Judiciary Committee. And we've also seen that there are going to be elements within this report that Democrats can point to that raise significant, serious questions about the president's behavior in office and, of course, this question that still remains of obstruction that Congress itself will want to address. But by and large, Democrats have said since the 2018 midterm election campaign that the issue of Mueller doesn't really resonate with voters the way that issues like health care and the economy resonate with voters. And I can tell you from being out on the campaign trail in a lot of these early states, talking to a lot of voters, the question about this Russia investigation does not really come up from voters. Instead, they're really focused on health care, on costs, on their jobs and wages. But I think you're going to see this call for greater transparency, the full report, and also these questions about the president's behavior and whether that should be litigated at the ballot box. That's certainly what a lot of these 2020 Democrats want to have by the time 2020 comes around.
And you've heard a similar sentiment from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi that Democrats have to offer a vision, a pathway that goes beyond being anti-Trump or being so focused on the Mueller investigation. And so, Lynda, to you, how then should Democrats both use whatever they can out of this report to give them some momentum, but not make it the central aspect of their campaigns as they head into their primary battles?
Yeah, I think that's the key question here. Look, in the primary season, what's going to be most important for all of the Democrats that are in the field, whether they're in the top tier now or they're hoping to break through once the official debates get underway, what's important is for them to differentiate themselves from each other. You know, there's no daylight, literally zero daylight between them on the issue of the Mueller report and their allegations and attacks on Donald Trump and his administration. Where they do need to make sure they're very clear to voters voters who are going to be in these Democratic primary states is how are they going to make their lives better? How are they going to improve access and reduce prices on health care? How are they going to grow the number of jobs that are available to people who are really worried about these pocketbook and kitchen table issues, not so much what's happening within the Beltway? All that said, the Democratic primary electorate is by and large the Democratic base, and that means they are angry, they're up in arms, they already are upset about what they're hearing and what they're seeing from the Trump White House. And so when these folks are on the trail, you can absolutely expect them to say there's this culture of corruption. The report lays that bare, regardless of the final conclusion of the Attorney General and whether or not there's an official obstruction charge. There's a lot to be troubled by from what we saw in this report, and there's a lot of fodder for conversations moving forward.
And so, Michael, as our House Republican strategist, based on what Lynda just said there, based on what you've seen, have any of the Democratic candidates really differentiated themselves as far as the response to this Mueller question and Trump that separates them from the pack?
So I'm the politics editor at New Hampshire Journal, and we do a daily newsletter about the First in the Nation primary. And I was just putting together the tweet responses from all the candidates, and they all are very similar. The ones that stick out, Eric Swalwell saying impeach William Barr, which is a double strike because nobody wants, particularly in New Hampshire, Democrats do not want to talk impeachment. And why would you impeach a guy that most Americans haven't heard of? The smart plays were from Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who used it as a reason for people to sign up, send me your email address if you agree with me that we need to have hearings. And that's a smart move because, as Lynda was talking about, it's about building the base. But I have to upbraid my two fellow guests. You left out the #1 issue for Democrats. You didn't even talk about it, which is, can you beat Trump? That is what this primary is about. Can you beat Trump? And if there's somebody who can show that they can somehow use this issue, maybe former prosecutor Harris, who says, I can use this issue to give me an extra tool to take on Trump, I think Democratic primary voters want to hear that. But their first issue is beat Trump, and their last issue is beat Trump, and so is everything in between.
Well, I want to ask then this question of impeachment, right? The I word. Lynda, to take a look at this comment from Elizabeth Warren from February. She said, quote, by the time we get to 2020, Donald Trump may not even be president. In fact, he may not even be a free person. And based on what Eric Swalwell says, to impeach the Attorney General, might there be a political consequence for Democrats who assume that impeachment is a given?
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily true, and we're all continuing to digest those 448 pages that, we've just getting to set our eyes on today. And so there may be some information there that lays the case, the groundwork for impeachment proceedings sometime in the future. But I think Democrats have been correct for the most part in being cautious about how you use the term, whether or not you say that it's going to actually happen or something's going to move forward on it. I think you have to be methodical. I think you have to be conservative. And as Nancy Pelosi said not very long ago, the thing about impeachment is there has to be some sort of bipartisan sense that it ought to move forward. Otherwise, you're looking at, further tearing this country apart in what is already an unbelievably polarized landscape.
All right, you can tell I don't make the decisions around here because I have to wrap. We've already run out of time. I appreciate your time, everybody. Caitlin Huey-Burns, Michael Graham, and Lynda Tran. We will see you again soon.